Hey Dreamers, it's the 8-Bit and Summonek here, and today I'm bringing you my Week 5 match against Nidoqueens. This was a bitch to prepare for because Mega Absol literally buttfucks my team. So this week I'm bringing quite a gimmicky team. Well, gimmicky mon, and a few other tricks as well. So, without further ado, let's get into the team overview kind of quickly before we go into the battle. I am bringing Scarf Transform Mew because I expect him to bring Setup Absol because once it sets up a Sword Stance, it sweeps my entire fucking team. So I have no switch-ins to it barring physically defensive, no item Crobat. So if he brings Special with Psychic or Special with I don't know, a special variant, then I'm kind of fucked. So Absol is a huge problem, and I just couldn't get around it. So that's why I'm bringing Scarf Transform Mew. Hopefully it does some things. The other moves on it are Knockoff, Gunk Shot, and then Headbutt. Gunk Shot was for Sylveon, which obviously he did not bring. Knockoff because it's generally quite useful, and Stab for Wheezing and other things like Ampharos, etc. Then I have Shuckerberry offensive Heatran with a little bit of HP investment. I have enough speed to outspeed fully offensive Sylveon, with, which I kind of did expect with HP Ground Life Orb because that does damage to my team. But he didn't bring it, unfortunately. Stealth Rock, Toxic, Lava Plume, and Flash Cannon. Toxic on there for Slowking. Lava Plume and Flash Cannon just for stab and doing things, and Stealth Rock because he doesn't have much hazard removal. Well, he does, but it pressures him, and yeah, it gets chip damage on the Pyro and the Hitmonlee, which will be good for late game. Then I brought specially defensive Mega Scissor to deal with Ampharos, Slowking, and Sylveon. Also, it had enough investment to outspeed to live a Fire Blast from non-invested Absol, so that's why I decided to bring it especially defensive this week. Roost, Bullet Punch, U-Turn, and Bug Bite. I was debating between Bug Bite, Knockoff, and Superpower, but I did end up bringing Bug Bite, which doesn't really come into play, but I digress regardless. Then, I mentioned earlier, I have no item Acrobatics Crobat to switch into the likes of Mega Absol. It also deals with Hitmonlee fairly well, enough investment to live things. At least one Stone Edge, and to determine whether it's Scarf or Life Orb or an Unburdened set. So good job, Crobat. The Fog, Roost, U-Turn, and Acrobatics. I was debating between U-Turn, Toxic, and Taunt on Crobat, but I decided to use U-Turn because he has an Ampharos on his team now, and that's spooky, and I don't really want to let that switch in for free. Sorry if you heard that. That was my headset cable dropping onto the floor, so yay professionalism. Next up, I have Mamoswine, Life Orb, Adamant, with no speed investment because all of his offensive threats would have outspeed me regardless. So I've brought bulky Mamoswine with Icicle Crash, Hidden Power Fire for Fortress, which he didn't bring unfortunately, Knockoff, and Earthquake. No Ice Shard this week because the things I'd use it on would be Absol, which gets Sucker Punch, and Hitmonlee, which gets Mach Punch. So I thought, why would I use Ice Shard and waste a slot when I could just have Knockoff instead because I'm good at the game. But yeah, HP Fire was on there for Fortress and it would have 2-hit KO'd. Unfortunately he didn't bring it, so that's kind of a waste of a move slot, but never mind. And then lastly we have Kingdra because it shits on his team once Slowking is gone, and because I have Scissor, I don't anticipate that lasting very long. So I have Draco, Scald to get burns on the Slowking if it decides to switch in on Kingdra, which I did think was his designated switch in. So Scald for the off chance of burns, Iron Head for the Sylveon, which again he didn't bring, and then Signal Beam for just general coverage for the Slowking in case, I don't know, it brought a berry and I wanted to activate it so it couldn't do counter on my scissor shenanigans. But yeah, Modest with enough speed to outspeed. No, it was Jolly, sorry, enough speed to outspeed Max Speed Stoutland, which he didn't bring. But yeah, that's my team, and yeah, let's get into the battle. So, Nidoqueen is going to be issuing a challenge. Shout out to me for remembering to actually save the battle code this time. The dimensions are a little bit off because my recording software is a bit odd, but never mind. I leave the Heatran, wanted to get my rocks up straight away, noticing he didn't bring hazard removal this week, and he turns out he is Unnerved Pyro, and I'm just like, hell no, I'm not about to take this HP ground, because my Shocker Berry wouldn't activate, so I'm going to switch into Crobat, predicting that nicely, which is all good in the hood, and he's going to switch out into Ampharos because that's just a decent switch into Crobat, really. I'm going to go for U-turn, get some chip damage on this, which is nice. And I put in the back of my mind that this is static, and that could come into play, so I don't really want to be doing U-turns too much, but so I go for U-turn, straight back out into Heatran, and go for my Stealth Rocks. They are there to stay unless he has Rapid Spinning a Hitmonlee, which I really doubt he's brought. He reveals Bulldoze Ampharos, what a lord. So that's going to do like 18% because I have a Shocker Berry and I have HP investment and things and stuff. And I'm actually going to outspeed him because I think he might have sped crept uninvested Heatran, which is cool. And I actually do get the burn, which is nice. And he's going to miss a Focus Blast, which is kind of unfortunate, but with my investment I would have lived it, so not the end of the world. I do end up over-predicting here to kind of make up for the... Well, I didn't make up for the miss, but I over-predicted thinking he'd just flat-out switch into Slowking. But he goes for Volt Switch. I should have gone for Lava Plume and just killed it there, but never mind. And this thing is gonna go for a high jump kick, and I'm like, right, I'm gonna switch into Scissor in case he wants to predict me and go for Stone Edge, and I don't want that happening to Crobat because I need Crobat this match for things and stuff. And he does go for high jump kick, and this does a hell of a lot of damage, and it tells me he is reckless. He is not an unburdened set, which means he doesn't have Rapid Spin, which is great. So he is Reckless Scarf, which I put in the back of my mind, which is great because Mew will be outspeeding that, and he won't have Unburden, so... Shenanigans! I'm actually gonna pull a double into my Crobat, not wanting to take another high jump kick, but he switches out to Weezing, which is nice. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna go for U-turn again. I know this Ampharos is static, and it was probably a silly idea of me to do it, but I do it anyway. And luckily I don't get punished for it. So that's gonna bring Ampharos down to the red, low enough for it to go down to burn next turn, which is great. So in comes my Mamoswine, looking spooky scary, and Ampharos is going down to burn. So at this point, we are in a really, really solid position. You know, Heatran's got up its rocks. Ampharos is down, so no more Volt Switching shenanigans. He brings in Weezing here, which if I was him, I would have brought in Hitmonlee, because Hitmonlee really pushes my team. But here I'm going to go to Heatran. If he goes for Hidden Power Ground, I can take one of those because of my investment. And if he goes for Willow, it's not going to affect me, obviously, because I am a Heatran. So I can just fire off a Lava Plume here for free, pretty much. As he's going to withdraw into a Slowking. My PC is going really slow, so my recording is kind of laggy for me, but not for you, because editing, yay! So I'm going to go for Lava Plume. It's going to do pitiful damage to this Assault Vest Slowking. I don't get to burn, which is a bit unfortunate, but doesn't really matter too much. And he's going to pull a double into Pyro as I go for the Toxic, which is a good play. He used that well as a pivot. So I'm going to drop a Toxic on this thing, which will wear it down, especially if it's Life Orb. And I decided, you know what, I am going to take this, I am going to, you know, save this. He's probably not going to go for Focus Blast, but if basically if he's not Life Orb, he can't 2-hit KO me with this thing. So I'm going to go into Crobat as he reveals Dark Pulse, which is interesting, probably for the Mew. And that's going to do some damage, but not enough to 2-hit KO me. So I do go for the Acrobatics here, hoping to pick up the kill, but I don't quite get the roll, and he misses a Fire Blast, which again is unfortunate, but it wouldn't have killed me unless he was Specs, which he wasn't, obviously. So Pyro's going to go down to Toxic. Thank God for Heatran. Thank you for putting in some work. Now he's going to go into Slowking, and I'm going to go for the U-turn, getting off some chip damage and wanting to know if this is Rocky Helmet, which it's not. It is Assault Vest. I find out later on in the match, but I wanted to determine whether that was Rocky Helmet or not. And I'm going to sack my Heatran here because it's done its job. It can't really do much else other than Toxic this thing, which would have been nice in hindsight, but you know, I had other ways to deal with it, which is Scissor. So I'm going to go into that now. I should have clicked Roost here, but I didn't want to risk him staying in and going for the Fire Blast, so I do end up Mega Evolving and just going straight for the U-turn. It was the better play because it keeps up the offensive momentum, offensive pressure, and gives me momentum. So he's going to go into his designated check to this thing, which is Wheezing. This thing is a pain in my ass, so I'm going to U-turn, get out of there, and go into my Kingdra. As you will see in a second, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, and my mouth is really dry. And now I'm yawning. God, I am the epitome of the professionalism. So here's my Kingdra, and I'm about to drop a Draco, pressuring this thing. It's slowly getting worn down as it switches in because of the Stealth Rocks, so yay! And I'm going to drop a Draco here, and in comes the Slowking, taking 12% from rocks, and then a Draco is going to connect and do a decent chunk of damage. So it brings it down to just below half. Bear in mind I'm jolly, not modest, so if I was modest it would have hit a bit harder. I'm going to stay in here, scouting for the Fire Blast. And as you can see, this Draco is going to do absolutely nothing. Yeah, Draco's going to do nothing, and he actually reveals Dragon Tail, so that kind of works out for me. He's going to get a crit on Kingdra, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And I get dragged out into Crobat, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to go for Acrobatics, because I've got no reason not to. It would have killed, which is nice. Well, depending on his defensive investment, so. I do go for the Acrobatics, just getting some damage off. And this was a roll, so I didn't want to risk the roll, so I do go for U-turn. Because had I risked the roll and I didn't get it, he could get off a Pain Split or a Will-O-Wisp and get most of his HP back, or burn my Crobat, which is not what I want. So I'm going to go into Kingdra, because if he does either of those things, it doesn't really affect me too much. So here's a Kingdra, and he does go for the Pain Split, so I'm glad I did not risk that roll. Now it's obviously not going to affect Kingdra too much because it's at low HP anyway. And I'm just going to fire off a Scald here, because if he wants to get cheeky and switch into Slowking, then it has a chance of getting burned, yada yada yada. So some of my HP has been lost, and now he goes into Hitmonlee, and I make the ballsy play, because I've been making all the safe plays so far, so I make a ballsy play predicting the Stone Edge. And I go into my Mamoswine. Not only this, Mamoswine is also my most expendable member at this point. And he does end up going for the Stone Edge, which is yay for me. Great job me for making a prediction. He's going to withdraw his Hitmonlee here, telling me it is Scarfed again. And I do just go for the knockoff, because I do think the Slowking is coming in, and getting rid of this thing as a Assault Vest would be nice, but it just ends up killing it. So yay for Mamoswine for being a wall breaker. Excuse me. He's gonna take some Life Orb damage, and he comes back into Hitmonlee, which is proving a problem to my team. It is a big pain in my butt. So I'm gonna withdraw and go into my Crobat, because he's gonna go for the high jump kick. I'm not risking that, as he does end up going for the high jump kick, which is great. So here I can just stay in and go for Acrobatics. Obviously he's going to preserve his Hitmonlee, because it does a hell of a lot of work to the remainder of my team. So at this point he's only got Mega Absol and his Hitmonlee back. Left, sorry. And I'm going to go for Acrobatics, almost killing the Absol. And I'm scared of Adamant Sucker Punch, because if he was Adamant that would have killed. So I do a bit of a ballsy play and go into Mew. Hoping he'd go for the Sucker Punch. But he actually turns out to be specially offensive Absol, which is kind of annoying, because it would have meant I could have cleaned up at the end of Crobat. But never mind. So Mew's going to go for Transform. Hopefully I can live a Dark Pulse. But that is not the case. Mew is going to die. I was really, really sad because I was really hoping I'd be able to live that, and I would have outsped the Hitmonlee as well. So had he had like Focus Blast, I might have won, but with Transform Mew, but I digress, I didn't. So I go into Scissor, get a Bullet Punch off on the Absol. Gonna kill it, obviously. And this one is a roll, and I might as well just stay in and risk the roll because, you know, if I switch into Crobat, I'll get 2-hit KO'd by High Jump Kick anyway. So I'm gonna go for Bullet Punch, and it doesn't quite take out the Hitmonlee, which is kind of unfortunate, which means Scissor's gonna go down, and now I have my safe switch into Crobat. Crobat has done a hell of a lot of work for me this game. Good job. Shout out to Intervention. The one mon that I sniped off of Pete's plan, actually, which is quite amusing. So I'm going to go for Acrobatics, and that's going to take out the Hitmonlee, bringing us a 3-0 victory. I could have played a little bit better there at the end. But I was really, really fearing that Adamant Sucker Punch from the Absol there. I could have played around it and gone for Roost maybe, but then again, had he had Psychic and all this kind of stuff, it would have hurt, and at this point I'm rambling, so I'm just going to shut the hell up. Next week we are facing Colton, I believe. Sorry, I just burped. Next week we're facing Colton, coach of the Osaka EVs. This man has a really fucking annoying team. Featuring Mega Sableye, Gothitelle, and other disgusting things. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed, feel free to leave a like and such things and stuff. We are currently undefeated, 5-0, guys. We are 5-0, which I did not expect. I am really, really happy. We're second on the league table right now.